I'd like to introduce Mara Award recipient, Madeline Barrio Hopkins. Madeline is the Vice Chancellor of Workforce Instruction for the Houston Community College System and college president, where she has been an advocate for workforce education, diversity, and equity. She's passionate about bringing in innovative educational workforce programs and partnerships to enhance upper economic mobility for underserved communities. She's also been instrumental in developing technology summer camps for girls and increasing female participation in computer science in non-traditional areas. I love all that. So, also join us today is someone who helped put this forum together and make it possible, Nate Bennett of Comerica Bank. Nate currently serves as Senior Vice President, Chief Diversity Officer, and he has decades of experience leading key diversity initiatives and acquiring diverse talents across various industries. He is a member of several leadership organizations and has also been recognized as a nominee for the HR Professional of the Year Award by the North Dallas Chamber of Commerce. Nate, thank you for this. So we appreciate you bringing this conversation to life, and we look forward to the conversation. So I'll pass it on to you.
All right, great. Thanks, Lisa. Now that we have recognized we've got more men in the room, so we're not as severely outnumbered as we were before, but welcome. Just going to read some remarks real quick, and then we'll get to Madeline. As this evening's award sponsor, it's my distinct honor to congratulate the 2023 Mora Women Helping Women and Young Leader Award recipients. At Comerica Bank, celebrating and empowering women does not describe what we try to do, it defines what we do and who we are, whether it's internally through our employee resource groups, which provide networking, mentoring, and professional development opportunities for women at our bank, which includes 52% of our managers are women, and actually for our C-suite, 50% of our C-suite are women as well. Or externally partnering with nonprofits such as the Texas Women's Foundation that impacts the lives of women and girls. Actions always speak louder than words. Comerica is collaborating across all lines of business to be a force for good in the communities we live and serve. Our bank remains committed to supporting organizations that create and increase economic and leadership opportunities for women, girls, and families, which results in stronger, more equitable communities for us all. The impact of the Texas Women's Foundation and tonight's honorees is confirmation that the bigger is possible. So I encourage you all to continue to be bold and relentless in your pursuit for excellence. So, enough of that. So on to you. I'm going to call you, she told me before to call her Madeline, but for this first question, I'm going to call you Dr. Madeline Barrio Hopkins, because it's reaching that status should be recognized, correct? Round of applause. So my first question for you is, I really want to start off talking about your leadership journey. And, so if you can tell us how you began working in higher education.
How much time do we have? But first of all, I want to thank the Texas Federation of Women for the honor of being here. I want to thank you and Comerica for your advocacy for women rights and for women equality. And we had a conversation earlier about the culture of Comerica and how that was one of the main things that helped you and guided you to say, yeah, I wanted to be part of this organization. So kudos to you to be able to do that and continue to do that. So my journey into higher education was by accident, so people say, but in reality, I always say that there's a higher guide that's really guiding your pathway. I graduated from the University of Puerto Rico with a bachelor's degree in economics. So yes, I'm from Puerto Rico. Anybody else here? No? Yeah? Anybody who's been to Puerto Rico? Okay, claro, very good. So I graduated from University of Puerto Rico with a bachelor's degree in economics, and then like many Puerto Ricans, left the island and came to the mainland looking for a better life and for a job. I used to work at a bank. I didn't tell you that earlier. So I thought I was going to be a banker. life had a different journey for me. So I came to the United States and didn't speak English very much, and quickly realized that with a bachelor's degree in economics, but not being able to speak the language, my opportunities were limited. So very quickly, I decided I needed to change that. I took English classes, and while I was doing that, I didn't have a job for about 8 months. But I found a job at Oklahoma State University as a receptionist. I was given the option of doing 2 different jobs, and I chose the receptionist because I figure it would give me the opportunity to practice my English skills and hone those skills that were definitely needed. That was really the beginning of my higher education career. I started there as a receptionist, became a financial aid counselor, and then eventually I moved to Houston. Houston is a great city of opportunity. I worked for a technical school where I went in as an assistant financial aid director. Then I moved to another school and ended up being the school director. One day, I was reading an article in the paper about this lady that was from Puerto Rico, and it happened to be the chancellor of Houston Community College at the time, Ruth Burgos Sasser. I didn't know her, but when I read her story, and I knew the little town that she grew up, and I knew what she must have gone through as a kid, and I thought, wow, there's a lady from Puerto Rico who is actually the chancellor of Houston Community College. I never thought about applying for a job there. So I looked for their job ads and found a position as a director of continuing education and contract training, which was in alignment with my experience at that point. And I thought I was going to be there for 5 years. That was my goal. 24 years later, so I'm still there. I've had an opportunity to grow with the institution. I have many women and many men who were mentors across my pathway, and never thought or dreamed that I would have a dual role like I have today. But that was kind of my journey into higher education.
Well, that's awesome. And when I hear, and I actually got a chance to read your bio, obviously, and we spent some time together speaking. In our line of work, in my line of work, we talk a lot about privilege, and we refer to it as headwinds and tailwinds. And you talked about one of your headwinds, being English being your second language, certainly a headwind for many individuals, many immigrants that come into the U.S. But when you think about, creating equitable action or taking equitable action in the roles that you have, one of the things that's fascinating in terms of the work that you do. So a lot of your work has been done in workforce development, and you developed a club for women in technology. So tell us why.
So when I became college president in Houston Community College Southwest, one of the programs that I was in charge of, and still are, is the digital and information technology programs. And when you're a college president, one of the things you want to do is how can I make this college better? How can I influence positive change? So I started looking at data because we've learned to be a data-driven institution. And one of the things that I learned was that we had a gender gap in our computer science programs. And I started looking at some of the research from the College Board and other similar type of research about gender equity in the computer science and information technology industry sector. And then I read some statistics that alarmed me and concerned me. And one of them was that in 1984, about 37% of the women of graduates in computer science were female. Fast forward 2014, and the number had changed to about 18%. And then I looked at our data, and at that time, we had about 2,000 students in computer science programs, but only about 14 to 15% female. And I thought, okay, I gotta do something to change that. Because at the same time, I read another report that says that the technology economy was going to reach over $3 trillion. So I thought, being a daughter of an immigrant, and of that people come to the United States, and even individuals in underserved communities do not know the opportunities that exist in this economy. And I thought, I don't want my kids from my service areas or the girls that come to the institution to be spectators of this technology economy and the growth of the technology economy, knowing the opportunities that it provides for a better life. So I want to do something so the girls can see themselves as being the next computer scientists, to being the next computer engineers, to be the creators and the developers and the programmers of tomorrow. And I thought, what can I do today? And so I started talking to some of the girls in the program, and I said, what makes you stay? And I talked to women in technology in Houston, and I said, what made you stay? And so I heard some of the same themes, that was they felt at one point they didn't belong. There was a industry sector that was very male-dominated. Even my faculty was mostly male. And I thought, okay, we gotta do something to change that. How do we create a sense of belonging? And one of the most powerful things is when you come together as a group and you can see someone else, representation, right? So we started thinking about how we can attract more computer science teachers in the faculty, how to be intentional about recruiting females to be teachers. And at the same time, I asked some of the women in Houston that were in technology, would you mentor some of my female students? And then we thought, how about the young girls that are in high school and middle school? How do we create a venue for them to come in and touch and feel and see themselves successful in doing programming or coding, right? And so we decided to create these camps for free. And I said, as long as I'm college president here, we're gonna have free camps for girls and free camps for kids from underserved communities.
Oh, yeah. Well, I love it. I think this is probably a start of a long-term partnership or relationship, because that is actually, at Comerica, that's one of our 3 top priorities, increasing women representation, specifically in technology, and specifically in profiles for architects, engineers, as well as developers. 27% of our population in that particular group are women today. It doesn't sound like a lot. It's slightly above the availability of that talent, but the work that you're doing is incredible. So we definitely need to talk more.
Well, you know, there's no coincidences, so I think that, again, you know, there's a pathway. There's always somebody else in charge, whatever your beliefs are. I believe that God is in charge and guides my pathways, and I always believe that people come into our lives for a reason, so I'm honored to have met you and to be here today. And look, we got all these witnesses now that we're gonna be partners in this work. Yeah.
Well, we talked a lot about intentionality, and that I know is purposeful, because we can't, it's difficult for us to reach growth and see things change without being intentional. So this next question is along the same lines of when you think about being an intentional leader and helping our future leaders find their passion, and how you've seen your intentionality help them realize their potential. Talk to us about that a little bit.
Well, that's a great question, and I will say it starts with you as a leader, understanding your values and being able to share that vision in a way that inspires others. It has to be a shared vision that it has a focus that is greater than oneself or even of that of the institution. And I always think we all want to have impact in the world that we live in. And to me, that's my North Star, you know, what we just talked about. And helping, being able to share that with those people that work with you, and hopefully that they encourage them to be part of that vision, to want to change the future of tomorrow. I always say when you're in education, what a great profession where we get to actually impact not only the lives of the individuals that we work with, but of future generations. To me, that's, we will never know all the people that we impact, right? It's like the story of Dr. Burgos. I didn't know her, but her life story inspired me to to want to go there and look at where we're at now. I'm doing all these things, and it was because of her that I wanted to go there. So it's about inspiring and being able to articulate to those that work and together with you that we can all be part of that change and being able to help them embrace that vision.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. And we're going to have time for questions at the end. So start thinking about your questions. Madeline's she's a wealth of knowledge for you. So get ready. One of the things that you talked about, kind of reaching down, and I see more men have come in, and men, we can be allies. And I talk a lot about our CEO and being an ally for women and reaching down and bringing up future leaders. And one of the things, just briefly, I told you guys that our C-suite is 50% women. Hasn't always been like that. Our Kurt Farmer, when he came into the role, he said, I need to reach down and bring up future leaders, and I also need to recognize that representation matters. So in six months of him taking over as CEO, our C-suite went from 30% to 50% women, just like that. So that's reaching down and taking over. So when you think about, uplifting others and building a legacy around leadership and service to others, what are some things that you've done to help create space for others, especially women, to advance leadership?
So obviously the Women in IT club at the college, it's one of those things. But in terms of people who I work with, and I see one of my colleagues here, Matias Garza, and I want to acknowledge him because it really takes everybody that work with you to be able to embrace that vision to support others. And some of the other things that I've done is I pass it forward, pay it forward. I have many people in my life that actually provided me an opportunity to grow. I have people who mentor me. I have few people that I call that are my mentors still today. And those have been able to know the impact that they had in me. It was to be able to do that for others. So in work, I provide internship opportunities or interim opportunities. Sometimes somebody leaves and there's a position, and before you post a position, there are people in the organization that are aspiring or are wondering, can I do that job? And so we find ways that we can provide somebody the opportunity to, in an interim basis, try their leadership and be able to grow. There's a lot of leadership development programs. I have the blessing of many people who provided me that opportunity. So I always try to find ways that I can do the same for those women and men that work with me, to be able to allow them the opportunity, because I'm in a position as a college president that I can sponsor that. So identifying those people that you know are wanting to grow and basically pay it forward. But I will say one of the greatest things that I'm most proud of, in addition to those that I work with, and is that I have 3 beautiful daughters that I've been able to also, I think, influence a little bit, and they're here today. And my oldest one is a doctor in physical therapy. My middle daughter is an educator like me and an entrepreneur. And my youngest one is finishing her first year of law school. And
Stand up so they can see you. There we go.
so, it's not only what we do at work, but also what we do at home, and being able to be a role model. I always believe on the leadership guidelines for me is that you got to model the way, you got to inspire others, you got to be able to make sure that you know how to share that vision, and always encourage, what they call encourage the heart. So some of you here may probably know where those come from, right? The Leadership Challenge. And so I've read many leadership books, but to me, that's the one that speaks the closest to me, and I try to leave and my work to be done in that way, that I model the way for others.
Yeah, I like that. Encourage the heart. That's big, and that helps build empathy for others. We're going to stay kind of in that same subject line around advancing leadership, if that's okay with you. Yeah. So I want you to dig a little bit deeper as a woman leader, and And what would you say helps you advance in your leadership? I know you've talked about it a little bit, but give us a few more nuggets.
Well, for me, my very first inspiration that I always go deep in my heart when I'm not sure what to do, I think of my two parents. That neither one of them had an education. My father was an immigrant from Spain. He left Spain during the Civil War only with what he was wearing. My mom was an immigrant from Puerto Rico, didn't speak the language, had a third-grade education. And I think of their lives and what they represented. And what they represent to me is courage, hope, determination, deep, deep courage. But they always lived their lives in a way that they always taught me that it was important to give to others. That anybody that we came in contact that you saw in need, that the biggest gift we could do was to give to others. So that, it's kind of a North Star for me in terms of how I try to do my work every day. It's honoring their sacrifices and the sacrifices of my family, who has to put up with me on my long hours and my many calls that I get all the time. And then understanding that when you're a leader, those who much is given, much is expected. And we have a responsibility to be able to give to others. We have a responsibility to inspire the next generation and the next generation of women, because there's so many words and a lot of messages that girls get when they're younger that this field is not for you. Women of color are told you don't belong in that place. Hey, there were times when I thought, I don't know what I'm doing here. I probably should not be the one to come in here. But I always kind of challenge that. This is kind of funny, but I remember going to the Galleria in Houston. I know you have a Galleria here, right? And and I remember thinking, there's some nice stores here. I didn't grow up going to these stores. They were not for me. And I remember one day seeing the Tiffany store, and I thought, I'm never going there. And then these voices that we have, that we carry, the voices that we carry are the voices that messages that society, that your environment told you that you were not good enough. And I remember hearing the story, you're not good enough to go to that store. And I thought, why not? And I saw people going in and people going out, and I thought, I'm going to walk in there. I'm going to walk in there and see what happens, right? Now, inside, I was going like, I don't belong in here, But I wanted to overcome that fear, right? It wasn't just, it was a Tiffany store. It was breaking the message inside of me that people had told me I did not belong there. And I wanted to know why I didn't belong there. What's behind that door that is so unique that I don't belong there? So, and then I remember my dad, and I remember my mom. And I thought, I'm going to walk in through that door. And I walked in through the door, and I thought, okay, there's nothing special other than the prices, right? And so it was symbolic for me to then walk out, and I've had even with my kids, sometimes with other young people, I've done this. Let's go in there. And so, no, we don't need to go in there. And I go, why not? Why don't you want to go in there? And it's not about going to a place like that. It's about helping them change that message inside. You belong there. We all belong there. Don't listen to those voices. And I think for a lot of women and young girls, it's breaking those stories and that narrative that many women are told, especially women of color. And so I realize that as a leader, I have a position of influence. I've reached a point that just because I'm a vice chancellor or president, women look at me and they think that, what did she do that's special? I didn't do anything special. I was following a way to break those barriers inside of me because of my two parents did that in a different way. And I thought I need to do that. And when you realize that you're in a position of leadership, then you need to be able to inspire other girls to show them that they can be the next leaders of tomorrow, the next college presidents, the next chancellors of another university. We belong in the room when it happens.
Wow. I love your passion. HCC, I mean, they're fortunate to have you, for sure. So I'm going to end with Dr. Madeline for this last question. And girls, that's Dr. Mom. Make sure you. So the final question, Madeline, Dr. Madeline, tell us what it means to be a recipient of the More Women Helping Women Award.
Well, it's very humbling, and I'm even more humble because I still do not know who nominated me. And so when I came in and I saw how many people were here, I'm deeply, deeply humble. But I'm also inspired by the stories of the other recipients. And I'm inspired by a few people that I spoke to, and I realized there's a lot of power here. There's a lot of people who are changing the world of where they're at. So to be recognized for the work that I do, that is my North Star, is very humbling. I'm thankful for those who nominated me, and I'm thankful for all of you to wanting to come here today to hear the story. But I hope that I can continue to live up to the honor of the Mora Award and continue to live a life that it's worth of that recognition.
All right, outstanding. Another round of applause. Question time.
Thank you both. Thank you, Dr. Madeline. I like that. Thank you, Nate. We have some time for some questions. If you have any questions, there we go. Raise your hand and I'll come to you.
I have a statement and a question. Okay. Do I have to stand? I'm not going to. I don't know why I asked, sorry. So first of all, I want to tell you a data point. I am in data and analytics, so thank you. The average transaction of a Tiffany's customer, circa early 2000s, is $200. So take that with those prices. People are all in there thinking they don't belong and walking out with that little bracelet. So, so there you go. I am in analytics, as I just stated, and I lead a team of men. I work with all men beside me. There's a few other females that are in other leadership positions, and I'm hopefully hiring my first female tomorrow. She happened to be the best person for the job, so here we are. But I have a question in terms of, I grew up with brothers, and they were always on the computer and playing video games. I hate video games so much. But I love what I do, and I work with data, and I do visualizations all day long, and it's very creative, and it's very fun, and I stumbled into this job and taught myself this job. I mean, I work in social analytics. I graduated high school in '96. I did everything here. So I'm wondering, what are you doing in terms of, what is inspiring high school girls and young women in college to go into this field? Because when I speak with them one-on-one and I tell them and show them what I'm doing, then it's like, oh, that's exciting and I can do this, and they're very good at it. So that's my question, because typically, I don't know what the percentage is. I'm sure there's less females playing video games, and I feel like everybody's like, oh, you're a gamer, you should go into computer science. And that's not actually what we do. So.
Great question, and I will tell you here are some of the things that I've learned. Awareness, first of all. There's a lack of awareness of the opportunities that exist in the field, and how many different, it's like a tree, right? There's some core things that you have to learn, but then you can move into different branches of technology. It can be the creative side. So gaming, for example, a lot of girls are very creative, and they don't know that they can use that creativity to actually build the next cool games, right? And they can make a living, a very good living, as a matter of fact, right? By using their creative side to do that. Our gaming and simulation, for example, has two tracks. One is the programmers, and the other one is the creative folks. And when they create a game, they have to come together, right? So I'll start with awareness. In terms of what else is being able to do it in an environment that they feel safe, that they feel like our camps are very important, like our girls' camp. It's all girls. We have faculty that not all are females. We have a mix, but the environment in which they're working, they see other girls succeed. They see some other faculty, teachers, and then they see the successes. They get to play with it. I will remember the first time we did a summer camp, the first day that I walked in, the girls were, you know, I don't know, I want to be here, you know. The last day of that camp, as I was walking into the room, they said, could you come here? I want to show you what we built. I want to show you my game. I want to show you what I programmed. To me, they have to see themselves be successful. And when they do that, they gain the confidence that this is okay for them too, right? So I think it's awareness, creating a safe space for them to try it and to do it, and that where they can gain that confidence that it's okay for them to do it too. And you gotta make it fun in a camp. And we always try to make sure that we bring other females, usually younger females, because if I go in and talk to them, oh, you don't know, you're kind of, like my mom, But if I bring somebody who's closer to their age, which is a recent graduate, and then they hear the story from the recent graduate, right, that is closer to age, then they get inspired and they want to do more of that. So we work we try to get our women in IT and our clubs, our student clubs. It's fascinating what happens when you have student clubs. In the old days, the teachers felt like they were the only ones that can impart knowledge. We really learn from each other, and we try to do that a lot in our college, where we have opportunities for them to work and play with each other, so to speak, in terms of the learning environment. Project-based learning, and you bring them into a room and they all learn with each other, is very, very powerful.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Adriana Ocampo. So first I want to say congratulations, as a Latina immigrant, also in STEM. So I'm an aerospace engineer working for Boeing. And so also as a female in STEM, understanding what is to work in a very male-oriented industry, I want to say thank you for being such an inspiration for all the work that you're doing in attracting more females into STEM. I'm also on the board of the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers and also High Tech High Heels. And we have chapters in Houston. So I would love to connect with you after this, because we have chapters, junior chapters at the high school levels. And I would love to learn more about these clubs that the college has, and see if we can bring some of the young females into the college to get them more attracted into STEM and get them to go into college and into the STEM careers.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that. And, that's an example of how women are helping other women. I do not know Adriana, we just met here, right?
Yeah.
But when you hear an opportunity to be able to help someone else, do it. Just reach out and do it. And so thank you. I'm looking forward to exchanging cards and information and connecting with the group over in Houston.
Yeah, absolutely.
thank
And
you.
I've been in your beautiful island of Puerto Rico before.
Thank you. Got one back here.
Thank you so much. Wow, you're an inspiration. I've taken so many fantastic notes from everything that you've mentioned. In kind of your 3 bullet points of building potential in your organization, you had representation, mentorship, and kind of enabling a pipeline further down the line with investments. I work in engineering and construction. I'm a manager of direct contributors, and I can tell you that my organization is pretty strong. We're probably one of the leaders in our industries, which is pretty great, but sometimes we don't move fast enough for me. So I have some questions for you. 2 questions specifically. What advice would you give to someone at my level who's just stepped into leadership, who is excited to make things move faster? And what would you recommend to other organizations for individuals at your level, and how can they influence the system to better accelerate the work that you're doing?
Wow. I think I need to exchange my card with you too. One of the things that we do at community colleges, and I stayed in community colleges because I love the mission of the colleges. We in workforce, because we're creating the future workforce of this country. So to answer your question, if you want to continue to help and contribute, every community college near, what are you here in Dallas or? Okay, so Dallas College is a big system. They just became singly accredited. There were 7 or 8 different colleges, but now they're singly accredited. But every one of the programs needs, in the workforce, needs or has to have an advisory committee made of employers. So and I'll help connect you with them. You can start by having volunteering your time to be part of the advisory committee for the program that is closest to your field. They need your voice. We need your voices. When I put together a program or we start planning a program, we cannot do it without having the employer in the room with us. So one of the best ways to contribute to the changes of tomorrow is being a volunteer in that space. And I can definitely help you work with the folks here at Dallas College. And then I will say, when you do that, you're going to meet a lot of people who are doing this kind of work. And then for your resume, individually, you're showing how you are contributing to tomorrow. You may be in a position to connect your company philanthropy side, right, with the college to be able to continue to support the work of so many students, prospective students that are trying to go to college and don't have the means. And sometimes it's not just giving money for scholarships. It can be having guest speakers. It can be equipment. It can be faculty fellowships, right? Having faculty from the college going to work for your company for a few months and learning from you and bringing that knowledge back. There's different ways that your company can give and help support the quality of the programs and the quality of the workforce that is being produced in your area. I hope I answered your question. Okay. How can people in my type of position continue to accelerate that? The way I see that is that I have to put myself out there to get to know the different professional groups. I need to be able to know people in the industry to be able to tell that story. I need to tell the story of my students. I need to tell the story of why this is important for the United States economy, that we continue to all contribute to build the next generation of the workforce. I know you all have heard about something called ChatGPT, right? Wow, 4 months ago, nobody knew what that was, right? It's gonna change everything that we know. Just like your phones change the world, AI is going to transform every single industry sector. There's not one that it will not. Even my own sector in higher education, we started talking about how can we use AI to do what we do better. Some of the problems that we've had in the past that we don't know how to figure out, we have a lot of data. We accumulated a lot of data. How can we use that data, utilizing AI to create algorithms to be able to support our students better, to anticipate what they're gonna need. And every single sector is gonna be changed by AI. Take an AI class if you can, or read about it on the internet. There's a lot of information, but it's changing everything. And so staying abreast of what the future is bringing is another way. We have an obligation to not just stay complacent on what we do, but looking at what's ahead and how in higher education, what does that mean? My family sometimes gets crazy because I look at something and I go, I wonder what impact that's gonna have. Or I hear the news and I get reflective because I think about what does that mean to me in higher education? How do I need to change what we're doing? If we have a program in the college, that means that things are gonna be obsolete in 2 years from now, and we gotta change now in order to be able to be ready for what's coming in the future. So having a future-minded orientation and being able to reflect about that, be reflective of what it means to your organization.
We have time for one more, if there's one. There we go.
And thank you so much for sharing your experience. It's been so inspirational to hear from you. So, to boil it down for us, as mentors, what's the one thing we should start doing, and what's one thing we should stop doing to help those that we're mentoring?
I'm thinking. What's the one thing we should start doing? So don't wait for them to call you. Many times they're afraid of calling you. They're afraid of making that first step. And I always tell my staff, I've had people who said, would you mind being my mentor? And it's like they're almost afraid of asking, right? And I tell them, don't be afraid of asking, right? So I will say, don't wait for them to call you. Call them, or find a school close by. Doesn't have to be higher ed. You can go to the school, talk to a principal. Do you have a mentoring program? I would love to be a mentor in your school for some of the girls that are here. What should you stop doing? That's a harder one. If you're actively doing work on a mentorship side, well, listen more, right? And probably don't bring your preconceived ideas of what's best for them, but let them find their own. You may see what they're really, really good at, but they don't see it for themselves yet. You just have to wait. You can give them the opportunities. You can show them the different venues. Eventually, they'll find it on their own. So don't superimpose your vision for them. Let them show them the different avenues and let them find it on their own.
Great. Thank you so much. Madeline, thank you so much for leading this important work and educating our future leaders, and representation matters, so thank you for your work in that. So congratulations again. So, Nate, thank you as well. Representation matters, so you're doing your part as well, getting those women leaders in there. So thank you so much.